So this is the primary first episode of the Two Broke Gamers podcast, hosted by me, Jim, Originate Gaming, Originate Online, aka Nate, and
my name is Lorenzo, currently not existing on any other platforms. That may change soon, though.
yeah. Yeah, so this essentially will be a podcast dedicated to essentially just being the podcast sister to the YouTube content creation that we plan to do. Streaming, dog murder, if you're into that. That comes with a nominal fee. We have a dead dog already here with us.
Yeah, she's not looking great.
Munch is just fucking asleep. Well, okay, can you describe the game that I was playing last time that I just got fucking super mad? What's it called?
Cluster Truck. It is a game about parkouring on the back of 18-wheelers with minimal power-ups to assist you. You have up to 2 power-ups. You can swap them out. The ones you were using were Time Slow and Grappling Hook.
I fucking hate that game. It's so annoying only for the reason of like the second I thought I was getting good at the game, I was still sucking so much ass at the game.
Yeah, it has that effect. I personally like it just because I'm not good at it, but I'm a fan of like fast, hectic movement, just leaping off shit and smacking my head on other things and all kinds of chaos.
Maybe that's why we like Spider-Man games, because of just the pure mobility in those types of games.
Yeah, I'm pretty bad at it because I know with the web swinging momentum, you kind of have to release at the right time, but you can build up a lot of momentum and speed. Like I can do it passively because I've done like the speed trials in the previous game, but but it takes me a few attempts if I want to S rank it. I can't. I'm not that good at it.
No, I was never. I love I'm still not a big fan of, for some reason, the stealth challenges. You get like stealthy for like the first 2 minutes, and then they're like, "Fuck it, everyone go."
Well, the stealth challenge.
Sometimes
the stealth challenge. There's 2 ways to do it. You can either do like real stealth, where you're like hiding on walls and webbing dudes up, or you can play it
just
fast.
Kill everybody so fast.
You can do it fast and loose, where you're just punching everyone out before they have time to notice and warn the other guys that you're punching them out.
I would always use the rock out power from like a high roof. You just, but it for some reason it still counted as stealth if no one else saw it. Like,
yeah, there's one. I can't remember if it was for Miles or Peter, but there's one where like you start on like a rooftop and then like it's the enemies are divided between 2 rooftops and then the underpass below. That one was a pain in the ass. Because
I think that's Miles. I think that's a Miles
be.
challenge.
It might be. I do like how like all the challenges lead up to like a boss though, like how like
Taskmaster.
Yeah, Taskmaster. Yeah. Or was there one for Miles?
I don't think so. If there was, I don't remember. I mainly played that one for the story. I played Peter's for everything else. 100% of that game.
You know, I love Miles as a character, but like I feel like in his game, like his story is so contingent on Miles not asking for help. Like Peter just like several times throughout the game is like, "Miles, are you all right? I heard on the news that shit blew up."
Right. He's like, nah. Pete, enjoy your vacation. Take the wife out. Go have a time. Go get your dick sucked under the Eiffel Tower.
They were
in England, right?
No, they were in
or Italy.
What is it? I can't remember what it's called. It's the country Silver Sable's from. They're trying to have like a revolution in or whatever.
It's not Macedonia. Finland. We'll call it Finland.
You know, I wanted to say Sri Lanka the first time, and I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure that's real.
That's India. Yeah. Fuck. Do you have a favorite Spider-Man of all time? I know both of our favorite superheroes are Spidey.
I think for me it's still. I mean, I think for me it's still just Peter, because Peter's so relatable. Like Peter's like, you know, his wants are always like
616 Peter.
Yeah,
like regular Peter. Okay.
His wants are always like the same thing. It's like, I want to not be broke. I want my life to be stable. I want ass.
I want rent paid.
Yeah. Like Peter's whole thing is doing the right thing despite how much it costs him to do it every time.
Right.
And His life as Spider-Man is cool, but his life as Peter is always ass.
Yeah.
Like aside from like the one time he was a millionaire, but that barely lasted and then fell apart, and he became like the most hated man in like New York because his company fell apart and like everyone at his company lost their jobs. And then Spider-Man, it's funny because Spider-Man became publicly loved after that because he was fighting for the company on the front lines because people don't realize that they're the same. Oh, there's my mother.
Phyllis.
Hello, man.
Welcome, Phyllis. The mascot of the podcast.
Just be aware we are recording. So if you say anything, everyone will hear you. All right. Peter's I think still my favorite, but like there's some other Spider-Men that hold a good place in my heart.
I always did like Superior Spider-Man. Just like the story of like, hey, if you wanted to be like a rich asshole, like you so could. Like if you just did what you wanted to do, you could actually just do it. I remember seeing like a strip, I think, of like him fighting someone, like Ock as Spidey fighting someone, and he punched the dude so hard like his jaw almost came loose.
That was Scorpion.
Yeah, and he was like, my God, this kid could have killed me at any moment. Any moment, and just chose not to.
Yeah, Peter holds back a lot, and then it doesn't help that when he gets adrenaline flowing through his body, his limits almost don't matter. Like I think Peter's standard limits are, I want to say around 10 tons maybe, but then like there's times where like he's like, oh, everyone's counting on me, and he's like lifting a whole skyscraper by himself.
Adrenaline, yeah. Especially with his webs, too, with the tensile strength.
Yeah, aside from Peter, I like Miguel O'Hara. I can't speak for Spider-Verse version of Miguel O'Hara because I haven't really watched it yet.
He's an asshole.
Yeah.
He's such an asshole.
I mean, that's kind of Miguel's character, though. Like, he's always... Like, every version of him is kind of a
stoic.
dick.
He's very stoic and, like, weird.
I do think it's weird how many people, like, when that movie came out, were calling him racist, though. Like, he thought he was doing the right thing, and... Also, I don't think a lot of people realize it, but Miguel's also Hispanic. Miguel...
Yeah, his name's Miguel.
He's
half Mexican and half Irish.
Yeah,
right?
Mexican, Irish, and then Miles is Puerto Rican, black. I'm pretty sure.
He was Dominican.
I don't know. It might be different in the movie. I could have sworn it was... I mean, in the game, I could have sworn it was Puerto Rican, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think his mom's Puerto Rican, yeah. What's her name again? Fuck.
Not sure. Miles's comics I haven't really delved into very much. Like I got nothing against him. It's just like, it's hard when like you grow up with Peter your whole life, and it's like, like I got no problem with him being there. I just don't connect with him as much. But I think that's because as a kid, like I didn't grow up facing much racism, so I don't feel as much of a connection to my own culture as much. So like realistically, I can feel seen by like any character I like as long as their morals or something I agree with. Their skin color doesn't really matter to me.
Yeah, I don't. So I just remember, I think I had a book. I think it was like a book version of the original Spider-Man movie. That was the first memory I have of ever going to see a movie because I think we were like 6 when it came out.
Yeah, we were really young.
It was like 2001.
Yeah, my aunt got it for me like as like a gift for like getting good grades on my report card or something.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. So I remember my grandfather and my uncle taking me to see this movie. First of all, even if it's my uncle's idea to go see a movie, he just falls asleep in 10 minutes. It doesn't matter what it is. He sees that as a nap with entertainment opportunities for whoever else he's with. So we're watching it, and I'm trying to like I'm doing the thing that you're not supposed to do in the movie theater, where I'm like explaining back and forth, like, all right, so Spider-Man, so like in the comics, right, it's a little bit different because it's a radioactive, and you didn't even see that they got radioactive here. And then my grandfather's like, how do you know radioactive at 6? Like, what kind of word is that?
Yeah, well, that's kind of like they've kind of been like walking that back over time because it was radioactive for the longest time, and then they changed it to like just a mutated spider because like. Right. Oh, there was that one that
was experimented on, or
there was that one weird comic. Like, there's one weird comic where, like, back when they were still saying radioactive, where it's like, oh, Peter gave Mary Jane cancer because his semen was irradiated.
Oh, right, yeah. You don't ever want to give someone cancer with your dick. That's like That's like top 5 ways to not give dick.
But yeah, Miguel O'Hara is pretty cool. I like him. My first real experience with him was the Spider-Man Edge of Time game where you swap back and forth between playing as him and Peter.
Yeah. That was mine.
And I thought he was a cool character. Like, he like, despite the fact that he's an asshole, like he does look up to Peter. He
his future tech is sick too in his suit.
Yeah,
it's really nice. He has like taser webs and
shit.
Then
a lot of people don't realize it, but his powers are a bit different. He has no spider sense. Instead, he has a hyperscopic vision, which is why he always wears shades. But when he's not in spider suit, because his eyes are super sensitive to light. He has he doesn't stick to things like Peter does. He has talons that come out. He has talons on his fingertips and toes that he can. It's weird because he can mentally will them to fold over so that then when he's human, they're not poking out. They just look like dull fingers. And he has fangs. He has venom. He can bite you and poison you.
He's like an actual Spider-Man.
Yeah, because what it was is his. He worked for a company called Alchemax, and he was. I can't remember if he was exposing something or whatever, but point is, his boss
he used to work there, right?
One of his he was working there, and then one of his coworkers got him hooked on a drug. By the way, future drugs, if they're anything like this, are terrifying because what the drug does is the drug bonds to your DNA on a molecular level, so there's no ridding yourself of that addiction.
Right. Yeah.
And so what he did was he had a piece of his DNA from before he was addicted to the drug because he found out he was addicted to it. Mm-hmm. So he put it in this machine that was a genetic sequencer. Basically, it would overwrite his DNA with whatever DNA he put in. So he put some of his DNA from before he was addicted. Good thing he had that for some reason. And
how are you so loud for being something so tiny?
He went to overwrite himself, and his coworker who didn't like him was, I guess, decided to be a dick. He's like, I'm gonna make you a freak, and threw spider DNA in it. So his DNA is literally like 50% spider DNA.
Oh damn.
He is so unlike Peter, like symbiotes can't take his powers away because the way the symbiotes work, the symbiotes can remove. Stop dying. The symbiotes can remove anything foreign to your body because they view it as like a disease or a sickness or something like that.
But that's just him. That's like his genetic makeup now.
Yeah,
it's not foreign anymore.
Yeah, so which is why in the game, Anti-Venom couldn't weaken his powers or take them away.
I still think Anti-Venom as a character is really cool.
Yeah, he doesn't get too many stories because Anti-Venom, unlike most symbiotes, Anti-Venom has no real consciousness or personality of his own because he's like an offshoot of Venom that was mixed with like chemicals and Mr. Negative's powers. So he has no real consciousness of his own. That and he's pretty OP because he can make blades and stuff like Carnage, like Carnage can. He has all the basic symbiote powers. And then on top of that, like I said, remove anything foreign from you. So like you've been mutated, human, you have cancer, he can cure it. Anything that's not supposed to be in your body, he can take care of it.
But yeah, I can imagine Anti-Venom in a children's hospital walking around like 8 feet tall, hulking white mass. And they're like, we're ready to cure you, Timmy. Are you ready? Here's this demonic slime monster ready to...
That's another thing that I always thought was weird about Anti-Venom. Anti-Venom isn't usually like huge like the other symbiotes.
Isn't he literally just Eddie Brock's size, just like a little bit more buff?
What it is
I don't know why in some games they make him huge.
Well, in that game what it was is they attached a control chip to Eddie that was like manipulating him, and it fueled the rage and primal aspects of him and the symbiote, which is why it hulked out.
Okay.
It seems like a symbiote changes your shape more in response to like rage and aggression. Because when Flash Thompson wore Venom, he didn't change size either.
He didn't, right? It was just on his...
Someone's dying again.
Outside? These fucking kids.
Yeah, he didn't change size either. He was also a more technological version of Venom, where like because the symbiote
Venom like incorporated into his combat suit, right?
Yeah, Venom has the ability to assimilate technology into the suit. So he was that's what Agent Venom's shtick was. But he was also, compared to like Eddie Brock, most people that wear the symbiote, it's either they work with the symbiote or they bend the symbiote to their will. Mm-hmm. Flash was kind of buddies with Venom. He didn't really force him to do well. He had to force him a little bit at first because Venom was evil, but then when they brought him to the home planet and they purified him, because symbiotes, if they're worn by someone evil or corruptive, can be corrupted. Because symbiotes
they're naturally not bad, right?
They're like space cops. They're naturally supposed to find their perfect host and then do good in the universe. But then
they just look like slimy demons.
Yeah, and then one wrong person wears them, and then that's it. And the symbiote was corrupted before it came to Earth, and then it bonded to Deadpool before it bonded to Spidey. And, looking into Deadpool's crazy-ass fucked up mind fucked it up even more.
Do you think Carnage could ever be redeemed?
Maybe. Because
Cletus Cassidy being a serial killer, like having that as a background, I think that's more detrimental than anything.
Yeah. Him and Carnage actually aren't together right now. They're separate.
Right.
Because
really? Oh, you were explaining this the other day. What is this?
During when Null, the symbiote god, came to Earth, Cletus died, but his body was assimilated into like a symbiote hive mind thing, and he now exists as a living mechanical symbiote. He does not have a human body anymore. And
so Cletus himself is a symbiote now?
Yeah.
Oh.
Same thing with Eddie Brock. Eddie Brock has been dissolved. He no longer has a physical space. He is now in the symbiote hive mind, keeping things in order. Oh. Like how Null is called the King in Black. Yeah. After they defeated him, Eddie is now the King in Black.
Ooh.
But Eddie had to leave and gave up his physical form. So now Eddie's son, I think it's Damien, is now the new Venom, and Carnage. Carnage and Cletus had a falling out because Carnage is like, I want to go and amass power and go to space and kill gods and wreck all kinds of shit throughout the universe. And Cletus is like, no, I'm good. I'm happy wrecking shit here and living here. So they split ways. And Carnage actually has been running around without a wielder. And recently found he somehow he got his hands on the blueprints for the All Black, which is the All Black Necro Sword.
Yeah.
And he now has a spear version of it called the All Blood.
Which, if you guys didn't know, is the same sword that was in Thor: Love and Thunder, correct?
Yeah, wielded by Gore the God Butcher. Yeah, that sword is a weapon that basically when it kills a god, it absorbs their power to make itself stronger. It's basically a symbiote blade.
Right.
They don't cover that. They don't cover that in the movie because in the movie
they don't. I was upset. I was upset they didn't do anything like especially when you first see it like attached to his hand. It looks very like the tendrils latch on and then pull up into him.
Yeah, they kind of made it like a. They kind of made it a sword with symbiotic properties rather than a sword made of symbiote.
Right.
But it's kind of like that in the comics too. In the comics, you don't find out that the All Black is a symbiote blade until way later. Because Null existed before the universe did. He existed back when there was nothing. And then people started creating shit, and he's like, "Hey, who's fucking up my nothing?"
Who's fucking up my nothing? Wasn't it? He's technically like the dragon that fought Beowulf.
No,
a symbiote dragon.
A symbiote he created is the dragon that fought Beowulf. Yeah, it's a dragon symbiote that was they call it.
Man, I want that so bad.
They call it the Grundle symbiote. It has different weaknesses compared to regular symbiotes. Regular symbiotes are weak to sonic and fire attacks. Fire doesn't really work on this thing, but it is weak to electricity. So like Miles was perfect to fight against it because of his bio zaps,
right?
And then Thor, obviously, because Mjolnir. But yeah, they went their separate ways. Carnage is now doing multiversal things. He's actually running around the multiverse killing different Venoms just for funs. And Cletus is back on Earth. He lives in like the orphanage that he grew up in, and like his symbiote has spread throughout the entire building. He's actually pretty OP. Like the way I heard it described is he's God as long as he's within that house.
Okay.
But
so anything he thinks or anything he can do is just manifested in this house. But so long as he's tied to this location. Yeah. Okay.
But the symbiote that he's tied to is when Null's symbiotes invaded Earth, Tony basically absorbed one into like think of it like an Iron Man extremis suit. Extremis being like a bioorganic suit that can like be broken down into like nanomachines and stored in your body and whatever. So he managed to like merge an extremis type suit with the symbiote, and he could control the symbiote for a little while. And eventually, it broke free from his control, and then
Carnage.
No, not the Carnage.
Or Cletus.
Symbiote. Not the Carnage symbiote, just a symbiote.
Oh, okay.
And then eventually Cletus got his hands on it, and now Cletus exists in that symbiote. Like Cletus controls that symbiote.
Oh wow.
but because of that, he now has new powers. Cletus is hooked into the internet to a certain degree. Cletus can use the internet / cell service or whatever. He can call you and then hack your brain through your phone and then make you do whatever.
I'm trying to think. Favorite Spider-Man? Who? My all-time favorite. I mean, I like. There's definitely storylines that I think Ultimate Spider-Man might be in my top 3.
Ultimate Spider-Man, I think, is the one that.
His storyline, his villains too. I think were really cool.
I think Ultimate Spider-Man might be the only Spider-Man that really battles with me for whether I like him or 616 Peter more, because his storyline was just so like it was really intense. Had some very heartbreaking moments. Like one thing I love is I love teenage Spider-Man just going through the shit, like trying to balance school life and this back-breaking, spirit-crushing hero work.
Because, like, all right, so, like, being a teenage... We've been teenage boys at one point, and it's like, right, you see people you want to sex, and you just want to... You're hard all the time. At, like, 1,000% of your day. And then on top of that, you now have to, like... My question is, did you ever have to hide a boner while fighting a giant rhinoceros? Probably not. But I bet that's difficult. I bet having to try to like protect people while also keeping your hormones in check as a teenage boy, and then I want income, I want college, but there's a slimy black alien. Ultimate Venom is also I like his storyline too. That it's like something that Richard Parker and Eddie Brock Sr. were working on to try to cure cancer, and it ended up being corrupted.
Yeah,
that was a cool thing.
I like the relationship he had with Kitty Pryde in that universe. I thought that was cool.
They were really close.
They dated for a while, and then they were crime fighting partners for a while too. Actually, I'm pretty sure at the end of the comic, before they bring Miles in, like
they
end
up together, right?
No, well, maybe I don't know what happens after Miles comes in, because Peter kind of walks off into the sunset or whatever.
Shadowcat spiders.
I'm not sure.
Awesome.
She's actually not the ultimate version of her, but in 616, she's actually considered one of like the deadliest X-Men, because she's had like ninja assassin training that combined with her ability to phase is retarded.
Oh yeah, I bet.
But
she doesn't technically have to stab you. She can just place a knife inside you.
Like I remember I saw a video, because right now the X-Men are public enemy number 1, and they're being hunted. Hello.
There we go. Yeah, all right. So brief interruption, because
everything blew up. We all died.
We all died, and that sucks. I don't even remember what we were saying.
We were talking about favorite Spider-Man. I know I was saying something, but I don't remember what it last was. So you were talking about your favorite being Ultimate Peter?
I think either Ultimate Peter or I can't say Miles is a favorite. He's growing on me. He's a good character. I really like him. But
especially with the previous game.
Favorite. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say that previous game, the Miles Morales Spider-Man game, really helped open him up to more people and get to know him.
Which is still to have a black Latino Spider-Man, because of course a lot of people can relate to that. His struggle with racism and growing up poor, and I mean I think that's the number one. I think Spider-Men have to grow up poor. I feel like that's just the number one thing. That's exactly what reminded me of it. My favorite is Noir, Spider-Man Noir, being from like the 1930s during the Great Depression, and him essentially like not being able to control his webs that well. He's just kind of like, but he's just a stealthy bastard. He's either so he either can be stealthy or he just goes in with guns. Like I think that's a funny ass Spider-Man trope.
His quote from his Uncle Ben was different too. Instead of great power, great responsibility, it was like,
"Please give me medicine."
I'm pretty sure his quote was something like, "It's the responsibility of those. It's our responsibility to like keep the people in power." Like in check and take it away from them if they're not using it right. Something like that. I don't know the exact quote, but it was that's what the essence was.
Okay. Do you also Ultimate? I think Ultimate Spider-Man's villains are cool. Like I love
Green
Beetle,
I love
Green Goblin, right? Being a giant flaming demon, like
dude's just Satan.
Yeah, because I got introduced to him by the game Ultimate Spider-Man, where you could swap between Eddie and Peter, and that was really dope. I feel like the Beetle was one of the hardest fights, and honestly, Norman, because having to jump through and figure out that. I mean, because we were like 12 when that game came out or something like that.
Honestly, it's not a game I personally played.
No.
It just because in terms of like gaming, like I never really had current consoles for the longest part of my life. My first gaming experience was when I was like 4 or 5 years old in like the year like 2000, 2001, playing my friend's PlayStation 1, playing Mortal Kombat for the first time. That was like my first video game. And then first console I ever owned was like a Nintendo 64, but it was like way after Nintendo 64 was like even relevant. And then I had Sega, not Saturn, it was Genesis.
The Genesis, yeah.
I had the Sega. My cousin's old my cousin's old Sega Game Gear, which is like a handheld version of the Genesis.
Oh,
I still have it.
Gear.
I still have it. It's upstairs.
Do you?
Yeah.
The Game Gear, I haven't heard. I haven't even heard that name in like 10 years.
All my cousin's old hand-me-down consoles I have upstairs. I have a PlayStation 1 upstairs. I have a PlayStation 2, but it needs wires. I have a Sega Saturn upstairs that I've never played.
Really?
Yep.
Oh shit! I gotta plug that in and try it.
I've had a GameCube, but like my first new like current console was the DS Lite.
Oh, that you ever like owned like that was yours?
That I first owned that was like current.
I think my first one. Okay, so like, I think us as millennials, we have this experience of like. So my first video game ever was I got as a birthday gift from my late grandpa, who I think this was the first time he had met my other grandparents. He might have known who they were, but like it was the first time I've ever seen them all in the same room. And he's just like, "Yeah, it's your birthday. I wanted to come by and give you something." And it was a purple Game Boy Color with Pokemon Yellow and Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Oh shit!" I was so hype, and I had that for so long, and it makes me laugh because I didn't, you know, where we had to like discover video games, so we didn't have a lot of like help. Whereas like now you can, you know, if I want to play a game and I'm like, fuck, I don't know what to do, I just Google it.
Yeah. You dip into the collective consciousness of the gamer media.
No, GameFAQs.com was the place I used to go so much for when the PlayStation 2 era, because it had like cheat codes. I remember me.
Yeah, people put in work on GameFAQs. Like they like there's games that like were like so unpopular that like never got guides, but you go on GameFAQs and like this one like lonely man like made a guide for the whole game.
It was like, yeah, and you're gonna see 4 pixels. There's like a dead pixel in the middle, and like he'll tell you everything. There was me and the guys had end up we had like a binder in school of like different cheat codes for different games that we would just, you can turn the switch off if you want, and then so we would just this is again, it kind of speaks to our age, where like you would have to go on the internet while no one could use the phone and nobody else could use the internet, look up something, print it, because you couldn't just bookmark it and come back later. You had to like print it out, and we had like a collection, like a 3-ring binder full of like, okay, this is GTA 3, this is GTA 4, this is Chrono Trigger, a guide on like how to get through the games. This is, you know, Pokemon. This is how you get Mew in Pokemon Yellow. And it's like, wow. To think that you could just Google, and like you don't need to buy those consoles anymore because you can just emulate them. Yeah. Like I have a PS2 emulator on my computer. But I did recently. We went to the without giving away the name of it, because people could probably look up the city after that. But the festival that's always held up at the park. Me and Jasmine, my girlfriend to be future wife, we saw Pokemon Yellow on sale, and I was like, I'm buying this. So I'm playing a new save of Pokemon Yellow currently on a SpongeBob Game Boy Advance SP that I still have from back in the day.
Speaking of Pokemon, there's modding communities that will make fan made games or ROM hacks of existing games. Pokemon, I feel like it has the most active community of that. Like there's Pokemon ROM hacks that I feel like have just surpassed what the current games are. Like not graphically, but because the graphics are still ahead.
Sometimes they'll literally downgrade like Gen 5, Gen 6, Gen 7 down to like 4 purposely just to have those ROM hacks, or like Hoenn, like where they have like very slight animations.
Like there's I haven't felt that excited for a new Pokemon game in years. Although I've kind of fallen off of Nintendo as a platform. Like I refuse to buy a Switch or something or whatever comes out next at this point because their games just don't excite me like they used to.
I was hyped for Violet. I got Violet. I pre-ordered it like 3 months in advance. And it's actually really fun. Like, okay, I understand where a lot of people don't like it because like you get your legendary within the first 5 minutes of playing the game. He's not usable up until like the end game, but I don't know. There's 3 separate storylines that you can complete at any way you want. The gyms are non-linear. They just scale with you, which I think every Pokemon game should do. Going forward, I think I like that system of just like, I want to fight the Dragon Trainer now. I was like, okay, cool, done. And the 3 storylines converging at one point towards the end is actually really cool. I did get emotional playing one of them because one of them was really sad. It's just, if you're someone who has like sympathy for animals, like one of them's really fucking sad. You basically try to prevent the death of someone's like companion Pokemon, and they're a dog. So it's like he's treating him the whole time. He's like at first you think he's just this hard ass, like always on you for like try to be better. Like we need to do this. We gotta go find these herbs, and then you realize he's giving these herbs to his Pokemon because he's dying. Yeah, it's like fuck. I'm really excited. I don't know if I would get a new whatever after the Switch is. I just have a Switch.
Yeah. The Pokemon as a franchise is in a weird spot because I feel like they always want to mark it down to like the next generation, but at the same time they'll throw in like references for like the people that are still around. And yeah. I don't know. I feel like Pokemon should branch out its content. Like
they should get a hard mode at least. Like, like an adult version.
Like there's things in Pokemon that they just never elaborate on because it would be too heavy for kids. Like I don't remember which it is. I think it's the Lucario movie. In the Lucario movie, you see in the past before Lucario was sealed in the staff, ancient Sinnoh, and there's a war going on, and it's like people in Pokemon wearing armor getting ready to fuck each other up.
Right, yeah. So I was explaining this on another podcast that I am a part of, Jump Entertainment. We were talking about, I was trying to explain to them that this current generation, which is I think 8 or 9?
I think 9 now, yeah.
Violet. Because Kalos was Gen 6. Alola, Shield. Yeah, okay, so this is Gen 9. This storyline is linked to Gen 6, which is technically linked to Kanto. Which is also technically linked like ancient times. So the 4 legendaries that are just around in Gen 9 were sealed away because they were embodiments of like greed, lust, what is it called? Sloth and gluttony. And they were originally, I guess, like the story is that someone brought from a different kingdom to the kingdom of what Paldea would be, and was like, "Oh, here's these items," and the king was like, "I'm going to use these to conquer everybody," and they were like,
"You talking about the Pokemon with like the stone relics?"
Yeah, where they there's
like the saber-tooth tiger.
They have Chinese names. Wo-Chien, Shenpao.
I don't know much about them, but I've seen them. They look pretty cool.
They're dope. They're all objects with Pokemon around them. So like the fish is are these marbles that the body sort of just grows around, and they're really cool. They were like embodiments of like a curse, and they were so powerful they had to be sealed away. That king then later wanted to wage war which was I think between Galar, so Gen 8.
Yeah.
Gen 6. Oh no, Kalos. That's what I meant. Was waging war with Kalos, and that's when AZ fired off a giant weapon to resurrect his Floette. And when it came back and landed, that's what caused the terrestrialization thing, because each region has their own thing. So Mega Evolution happened in Kalos, but with those crystals, with Mega Stones, but terrestrialization happened in Paldea, which I haven't played the new DLC, but you actually get the second part of the DLC. I think comes out next month or the month after. And you get Terapagos, which is this legendary, like apparently can be any terrestrialized type.
I like that. I like the design of the turtle.
Yeah, and apparently he's the progenitor of all of it. So they're linked, and there's like several Pokemon wars that people have fought. Like Lieutenant Surge tells you in literally the first time you talk to him was like back in the war, like this Raichu kept me from fucking people's skulls. I don't know he probably didn't say that in the game, but he but yeah, so Pokemon, there's background stuff to Pokemon that I think would be really cool to explore, but again, like it has to be more of an adult theme, and I don't know if they're allowed to do that. There's a lot of background lore and creepy shit in games, but they're just not allowed to explore it other than a subtle hint to like, hey, we know you're 30 and you still play this game. Here's a little creepy shit or some war stories for you to hear.
Yeah. One thing that I thought was kind of lame in the current games is the past and future versions. I don't mind them. I just think their designs were kind of weak.
So I guess the prevailing theory on that is that they're not the actual past and future versions of these Pokemon. I guess the machine which does that is actually, they think it's a time travel machine in the games, but it's been theorized that it's actually, it manifests your thoughts into Pokemon. So like a caveman who might have seen Donphan thinks that it's this armored giant hulking thing, and they're like, okay, this is what it looks like going off of a drawing, and no, it's not that. But the game presents it as like, yeah, there's past Pokemon, there's future Pokemon, and the timelines are converging with that machine. But there, I would have to reread it again, but the theory essentially just kind of conveys the message that this is essentially the multiverse kind of collapsing.
Like, yeah, they're like what ifs, but they're not. They're not like exact futures.
They're like what if Donphan was in the past and he was brutal, right? What if Virizion became a robot? Yeah. But ultimately, I would like a more adult Pokemon game. I just don't know if they could do it.
Whether they're allowed, I'm not sure.
They could do it.
I feel like they probably won't though, just because it's just easy money at this point.
Yeah, they probably wouldn't. Are you more of a Pokemon or Digimon guy?
Digimon every time.
So I've always had this. I heard this argument on the other show where it's like, I think just because I wasn't around to play, or I didn't play Digimon games, I watched the series, but I didn't delve too far into it. But now I've been explained, like even last night on stream, my boy Gerard was playing Digimon Cyber Sleuth, and he loves that game, and he explains that like you can start with like Agumon or whatever, and there's like 13 convergent evolutions that you can get to,
it's not
and you can reverse it.
Yeah, it's not a set line. It's a tree.
Right.
There's like you can go from being a little dinosaur to being made of Legos to being a Nokia cell phone with arms. It's like the evolutions are so wide and varied because the way it's in the show, the way it's set up is that these kids go to summer camp. They get sucked into the digital world, and they each get a Digimon, but they each get specific Digimon because they're what's called the Digi-destined. They are chosen humans who are chosen to wield the reincarnations of these Digimon who died in a previous digital war, and Digimon evolve based on what data they're exposed to, because since they're digital beings created from like the internet essentially.
And there's types, right? There's like vaccine, virus, and data. Type. What are the differences between the types? Like, what does that mean?
Viruses usually tend to be villains for the most part. They're like corrupt. Yeah. Vaccines tend to be more. They tend to be more like holy Digimon.
Is that like Angemon?
Angemon, yeah.
Yeah.
Angemon, Angewomon, Seraphimon, whatever. But there's the lore the show presents you, and then there's the lore of like the actual world, because it's different depending on how you read it. It doesn't help that there's a card game too.
Yeah, I've seen the trading card. I don't know how to play that game, but I'm interested.
I mean,
if there's card games, I'm interested. I always love card games.
I don't know anyone that ever had it when I was a kid, but I've seen videos online of people playing it and kind of how to play it. So Digimon are formed from coalescing data in the Digiverse, and when they digivolve, if they're exposed to certain types of data, their evolutions can change. But if they're partnered with a human, a Digi-destined, well, there's two different types. Digi-destins are prophesized trainers of Digimon. Then there's just regular tamers, which are just people that just partner with a Digimon just because. The emotions that you subject your Digimon to also affect their evolutions. Like, if you evolve your Digimon while experiencing like severe hatred, they can achieve a dark evolution, which can potentially corrupt them and revert them back to a Digi-egg where they'll have to be reborn, potentially without their memories, or in some cases just go on mass destruction. There's also things like in the show, there's dark gears that can sink into a Digimon's flesh that can corrupt them. Or dark spirals that can wrap around their arm. But there is a difference between corrupting dark data and there's armor that's called like black Digizoid, I think. It's one of those things where like not every dark thing is evil. Like if your Digimon is exposed to, I forget what they call it. I think it's like this black data that like War Greymon, he's a armored orange and silver Digimon.
It's pure depression.
But like if he's exposed to like black data, like the black data when he's evolving, he'll become a black armored version of that form. And black variants of Digimon usually have higher attack power, but they have reduced speed as the payoff.
I remember reading on Black War Greymon that his like special attack when he would pick up like a big ball and just launch it, apparently that literally just draws in sadness and depression and throws it at people.
Yeah, see, he's a little different from a standard Dark Digimon, whereas like he's actually made from like evil and whatever. Like his whole thing is like, what am I? What is my existence?
Right, he was a problem. I remember that in the show. That was like 6 episodes long of like, how the fuck do we deal with this guy?
Yeah, like he's running around. He's like, I'll destroy this world. He's like, I'll fight Digi God if it means figuring out what's going on with me.
Digi Jesus, damn.
Because there's these 4 Digimon. There's no real actual god Digimon, unless you count the Digi King Yggdrasil, but even then he's been defeated before. There's these 4 Digimon that each represent the cardinal directions, like in Chinese folklore. There's a Zulongmon who's supposed to be the Azure Blue Dragon. There is, I don't remember all their names, but there's Byakumon who's the White Tiger. There's the Tortoise, and
the fish.
I know there's the Phoenix in the center, but I'm having trouble remembering what the last one is. But Azulongmon is the one you meet in the show, and that was our first time meeting a Celestial Digimon, and fucking Black War Greymon's like, I'm gonna fucking fight him.
I'll fuck his shit up. In the same theme of like card games, like I remember I'd asked you and our friend Briar, about if you would ever get back into Yu-Gi-Oh. When you were like, eh. It has been so convoluted. I still play every day, but it has become more and more convoluted.
The problem with Yu-Gi-Oh is it's such a big investment in both like time, money if you're doing physical,
right,
and like there's also like the meta and stuff like that. Like Yu-Gi-Oh, I just don't know if I'm willing to put in the time anymore for that kind of thing.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Like Yu-Gi-Oh, I had fun with. Like it's different because there's playing the decks that you enjoy, and then there's playing the decks that'll win.
Right. Yeah.
So you have to choose between the two. Like right now, the current meta decks are archetypes I don't even know.
Yeah, I remember. So I got reintroduced to it back, and this I feel like this has happened a couple of times. I don't know if you remember. Do you remember a kid named Darnell who used to work at GameStop? Tall, light-skinned black kid.
I think so.
This is my older cousin, Darnell, and he had messaged me this because it apparently is a situation that happened with both me and him. In that he just randomly texted me one day. It was just like, "Hey, when you play card games with your friends, do they like not want to play with you anymore?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "I don't know." He's like, "I feel like because of how much I research the game and I figure out how to play, that like I play a very specific way. That's not because I guess me and him have similar play styles, and like I sort of developed my play style in the sense of when I got reintroduced to the game from my friend Josh, like he just had another deck, a Dino deck, and was like, "Play me," and I was like, "I haven't done this in like 10 years." He's like, "Do it." I was like, "All right, fuck it," and I won because I just read the cards and I figured out how they worked. And he was like, "What the fuck?" So we used to play like every weekend, every other night. Like I'd go to his house because he lives 2 blocks from me. Me, him, and my friend Brandon, we would just go play and we go duel. And then I'm like, okay, he would do so like the Blue Eyes meta, like old school Blue Eyes. You had to do what? You had to tribute 2 you had to normal something in one turn, and then the next turn tribute 2 monsters in order to get a Blue Eyes out because he's a level 8.
Yeah, Blue Eyes without special summoning, it usually takes about 3 turns to summon since you need 2 sacrifices, so that's two normal summons.
Unless you can get a token on the field or something.
Yeah, unless you have a card that gives you like a token or a special summon, in which case you can do it in probably a turn. Or if you but like nowadays you have cards that can just straight up bring it out.
Right. So there's Blue Eyes Alternate Dragon, which is like reveal it and then you can just special summon one out. So like they were doing these hyper aggressive plays where I would die in 1 turn, and I'm like, okay. So now my thing is stall decks. I love control and stall decks.
I used to run one. You remember Bell from Yu-Gi-Oh?
Yep.
Bell's whole thing is that if you attack me, Bell has 0 attack points, but any damage I take, you take
you
instead.
also take, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's the one that sort of got the guys to really fucking get mad at me was basically a play on Bakura's deck, Destiny board. So while Destiny board is out, if you get attacked, you have to flip a coin. If it's heads, they take the damage. If it's tails, you do. So if you're attacking me and you hit heads, you're hurting yourself. So you could have all 5 boss monsters. So even that, just the field spell, that's already annoying. On top of that, the deck that I played with Dark Sanctuary had no monsters in it other than monsters that would fuck you over or allow me to have advantage.
Yeah.
So either hand traps, which are something you can activate from your hand to give your opponent a disadvantage, or something like Lava Golem, where he goes on their side and causes them to take damage. So, and then Destiny board's effect is at the end of every turn. You get to take out 1 message. You start off with F. If you get I, N, A, and L all out on the field, you just win. And instead of Dark Sanctuary, there's a field spell called Mystic Mind, which everyone hates. Which is like if they have more if your opponent has more monsters than you, they can't attack or activate any monster effect. That's it. Mm-hmm. Like not even hand traps, nothing. They just can't activate them. So it's like you just have that out, you lock them down, and I would win by not playing the game that they would, and they got to a point where now they don't play with me anymore. And I was just like, I think call it my autism. I don't know what to do, but like I study the game so much because I'm so interested in it that like I'm constantly trying new strategies. And when I find one that really likes to stun or lock, that's my favorite thing to do. That's what I play.
I feel like Yu-Gi-Oh's in a weird place nowadays where a lot of decks nowadays are circumstantial. Like, it's like, all right, I have this deck type and I can compete against all these decks, but then there's like one deck type or two that just absolutely ruin me. And, the like I feel like a lot of people don't really know what to do once what they're doing no longer works, because like if you're gonna like if they're facing you with that deck and they face you and they can't do anything, their deck has no way to get out of that, then they're gonna be stuck, in which case then like their only option is to either keep using that deck against you and keep failing, or to make a new deck and see if it works. But I was gonna say it depends on the type of person. Some people like having to make new decks to counter like certain strategies. Some people prefer to have like their one deck and that's what they use.
That's kind of me, the first one. I really like if I get beat from a strategy that I feel is probably gonna win, and I'm like, oh fuck, how does that work? And now I'm studying that like a maniac because I'm like, all right, I got to figure out how to fuck that over. And I've told all the guys, I'm like, there are ways to break every type of control deck that I play, but I'm not going to tell you how to do it because like that's what the fuck is the point of that? My favorite one that I have, it's become like a staple deck that I love playing so much, is Ghost Tricks. I don't know if you know what those were.
No.
They essentially work by they're like Halloween themed. They're all haunted mansion themed. So you get like a witch, a werewolf, a mummy, ghosts, jack-o'-lanterns, and they can't be normal summoned at all. They have to be put face down,
Right.
and they all have flip effects.
Okay.
So it's like, oh, you'll flip. So like one of them's a doll, and it's like if this one gets flipped up at the end of the turn, regardless of what happens, every monster that's now face up at the end of the turn will get flipped upside down. Mm-hmm. And then, like, let's say if I flip 3 monsters in total upside down, I can special summon a level 3 Ghost Trick.
Yep.
So they all have these effects that let them not even just flip effects. Like, they're flip summoned and an effect can trigger, and they all have another ability that just lets them flip themselves back. Mm. The field spell makes it so that way if all of one person's monsters are face down, you can just attack directly. So if you have 5 blue eyes and I flip them all upside down, I can just attack you directly and not have to deal with them. And it's annoying because a lot of the traps are like, hey, flip one of yours face up and flip one of theirs face down. So like they can normal summon a special summon out their boss monster and you just real quick. But again, there's ways to negate it. There's ways to do things.
Yeah, like there's cards that are like, yeah, you can't have monsters face down or whatever.
Yeah. But there's just I don't know.
It's harder when like our area that's like there's a ton of Yu-Gi-Oh players. It's harder when you have a small community of players, because unless they're willing to put the same time and same investment in, right, then they're just gonna be like, well, can't win, so why bother to play?
Yeah, and that's what the thing is like at first Brandon and Josh were trying to get me into it, and I was like, nah, like I haven't played that in so long. Like, it's not going to be worth it. I don't really want to play. And then now it's like, yeah, I became good at it, and now they don't want to play. It kind of did the same thing with the Pokemon TCG, because I like playing that too. I like card games. I love card games. So the Pokemon TCG, I play a deck, which, I mean, Pokemon is supposed to be easier. Mm-hmm. I play a deck. And again, I don't know if it's just me, and like my friends don't like control decks or whatever it is. Like anything that nullifies you from playing the way you want, they can't do it. My main Pokemon deck that I play only has 8 Pokemon in it, and it's 4 Weezings and 4 Coughings. But you get a Weezing out, and it has an ability that neutralizes all poke abilities, poke powers, all that.
Mm-hmm.
It just neutralizes it. And every other card in the deck is something that either supports it or does something like, oh, I have no retreat cost, but this stadium card is going to make it so that you have 2 extra. So like you can't switch out, and my Weezing's going to stay in. Also, the Weezing's main ability in the Pokemon TCG, if you guys don't know, when you take poison damage, it's only 10 damage per turn. This one is corrosive poison, so it does 40 damage per turn. So you basically just bring a Pokemon out, poison it, and then you can either switch yours back out, do whatever you have to do. But their Pokemon will slowly die, and you'll win very slowly. And they can't, if they don't have anything to get rid of what you have, they can't use items. They can't use
because most Pokemon only usually have like between 80 to like 200 something HP, so that thing's gonna go down in like 4 or 5 turns maybe.
Some of the new boss mods.
As I say, some of the new ones might have higher now, but I know back in the day, like they didn't go much higher than that.
Because they reintroduced EX as a new thing, where like you can go from Kadabra to Alakazam EX, and Alakazam EX has way more. Like they're at 310, 320, and they have crazy good effects. But I did like them kind of like where they had like V Star. V Star was a thing where like you have one awesome ability, you can do it one time. That's it. Yeah. Once you use your V Star ability, that's it. It's done.
Yeah. See, I didn't encounter a lot of that same problem in Yu-Gi-Oh because when I played in Yu-Gi-Oh, I didn't play a lot of the same people over and over again. I played against. Although when I played was before like metas got out of control. I played between GX and 5Ds. There used to be a Yu-Gi-Oh club at the YMCA. I would go there.
Yeah, I remember that.
I played against them. Sometimes I went to like random tournaments or like they had when a booster box would come out, they had a pack preview to it where you could go to a specific location, pay an entry fee, and you got 5-6 booster packs of the new pack before it comes out.
Oh, that's awesome.
And usually you get a promo card as well, and then it's like 5 packs, and then they give you a form, and they're like, all right, go duel someone. Once you've completed your allocated number of duels, we'll give you a bonus pack. And
those are like the ones that you can't get, like tournament packs, like ones that you can't get, like you can't buy those types.
No, I've never been to a tournament pack, unfortunately. I've never gotten a tournament pack, unfortunately. Just sometimes they release them in stores, but that's like years later. I'm talking about like what was it, like how there's the new Pokemon box Shining Forces.
Yeah.
Like basically it's like, all right, we're having an event at this comic shop. You go there, pay an entry fee, they'll give you 5 booster packs of Shining Forces, however long before the booster box comes out, and then you go, they'll give you a sheet, you go duel someone, they acknowledge that you've dueled them, you acknowledge they dueled you. Check off the sheet. Once you filled off your sheet, they'll give you an extra Shining Forces booster pack.
Oh, that's dope.
And then there's like card traders. There's like not traders. It's like card merchants, like people that are like, hey, I see you got the holo from this set. I'll buy that off you, and you can use that money to go buy more booster packs or buy anything I have.
So I do that online. There's a website, tcgplayer.net. Or .com, and I have an account where it's like a lot of the archetypes that I know I'm not going to use but are popular, and I'm like, so I'm always buying packs, and then I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to use this, and like, oh cool, I pulled a secret rare of whatever this is, but I know I'm just not going to use it. I just list it, and then I just mail it off to the person. But I don't ever make the cash. I just put it back to the account, so that I'm basically funding my decks by like not by just getting rid of the cards I know I'm not going to use.
Yeah, you're making your hobby pay for itself.
Yeah. In interest of time, what games are you currently playing? I know we've been playing Minecraft and Don't Starve pretty regularly.
Nothing really at the moment. Well, I've been playing with another mutual friend of ours. I've been playing it's a ROM hack game. It's Pokemon Insurgents. But we're like doing a run where like I think it's every odd numbered gym. Once we beat the gym, we'll have a trainer battle against each other and then progress more.
That's cool.
But I have to say he hasn't progressed recently, so I'm kind of stuck.
Insurgents. This is a GBA hack, or
I think it's more. I don't know if it's GBA hack. I don't know if it's no. This one has its own installer exe. It's more of a fan game.
and you can just play wirelessly with other people.
Yep. So if you were to download it at home,
Oh, I'm about to do that
playing,
tonight. Shit.
Yeah.
Pokemon Insurgents.
Yep. I'm still really early on. My Pokemon are all only level 20, but what I like is that they have Delta species in this ROM hack. So
I was gonna ask, what's the gimmick?
So basically, like you can get like a Pokemon that's like, oh, this is a grass type Pikachu, but like unlike how they have Delta species in the card game, but in this game that Pikachu will have a new design to represent its grass aesthetic.
They said like that's kind of where the inspiration for terrestrialization came from. In the new games was the Delta species, and also in the first season of Pokemon where you saw the Crystal Onyx that was in the water, and people were asking like, what kind of Onyx does that? Like, yeah, it's now theorized that they may have taken the entire gimmick from that one episode to make the lore make sense. In that was a water type Onyx, so like obviously his body is still made up of rocks, but he prefers a water in an aquatic biome to live in. And it's just like in the game, like you'll see like they actually did the event where they released from Pokemon Yellow's intro the surfing Pikachu. So it's just a Pikachu that knows surf.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, I've been playing that a little bit. That's pretty much it at the moment. I mean, I'm still in the middle of Final Fantasy 16. I was playing it. I'm like half to 3/4 of the way through, and then I'm just kind of lost motivation for it. It's not a bad game, but it's on the easy side, and it's kind of disappointing by like Final Fantasy standards a little bit. Like I'm enjoying it. Like the boss battles and like the cinematics are really cool, but like your like day-to-day player stuff is just not as great. And I don't know if it's because like the guy who designed the MMO F14, and I'm just not an MMO guy. Because a lot of people say, it feels a lot like the MMO, and that's just never really been it for me. Like
which game is this?
Final Fantasy 16. Like, cause I played like Final Fantasy the 7 remake, the first part of it, and I beat that. That was fun. Remake part 2 comes out in I think January or February of 2024, so I'm excited for that. But yeah, not playing anything major. Waiting for Spider-Man to come out.
Yeah, we have been playing essentially what is a very different version of Minecraft. Not very different, but it's just the mods that we play are, to me, I always think are really fun. Having a starting race in a class to Minecraft, I think it's really cool. It is annoying that you kill me every time that I'm next to you, but that's just
for context. Nate's a vampire, and I'm a phoenix, and I let out a healing pulse every 8 minutes, and apparently that counts as like
holy damage.
So
since I am unholy,
so like Nate will be standing next to me, and like my healing pulse goes off because I can't control it. It just goes off automatically, and then it just kills him immediately.
So. But I did now recently, after several hours yesterday of playing, like getting into the Nether, getting blazes, and being able to actually fight. I learned that fire resistance potions do not kill me in the sunlight, which is good. The only drawback is that I have to hear the every 10 seconds because I'm still sizzling.
Yeah, he's still on fire. He's just not. He's just not taking damage.
Don't Starve to. Also, I recommend a game for you guys to play called Don't Starve Together. Has been deemed one of the #1 survival games on Steam because it's, as much as it is like collaborative effort, it is pure survival. Like the only thing you want to do is live to see the next day. You have to eat. You have to maintain your sanity. You have to maintain your health. And it's not like you can just get set up and be done, it's like the world will constantly fight you. Every season has a different boss. There's random attacks from hounds that can happen. You can just be walking around and a boss might spawn. Like, there's a whole bunch of different shit.
Not all of the bosses, but some of the bosses seek you out. So, like, you can't avoid them. There's, like, 2 of the bosses, I think, that don't actually seek you out. The hound attacks will always find you. They basically spawn wherever you are. And
hound attack happens once every like 8 days or something.
Yeah, and I think the number doesn't the number of hounds increase the longer you play.
And it varies depending on how many people are currently playing. So like if it's you by yourself, your first hound attack might be like at max 2, and you're like okay. But typically it'll be like Lorenzo, my girlfriend, and I playing. So it's like 6 or 7 are spawning at the same time. And we're like fuck.
And then there's like other stuff you could do. Like there's like underground cave systems. There's the moon island and the moon event and stuff like that. None of that is really required for you to do because the game doesn't really have an exact end point. But it's just stuff you can use to occupy yourself.
Yeah. So the original game, the solo adventure mode, technically, of Don't Starve by itself, there is a main story to that, which actually does extend over into Don't Starve Together. It's not entirely parallel, but essentially, every character that you play as in the game also has their own benefits and drawbacks. I don't know. I'm a big fan of that type of game style, like either min-maxing something. Like it's why I'm such a Bethesda fucking cocksucker. Is that I love builds, I love character specific traits, being able to make builds for Skyrim, Fallout, and Fallout 76, and now Starfield. I've been playing Starfield like a maniac, having fun with those.
See, some games for me, I feel like some games give too much freedom, and then like in those kind of games I'm like, what do I do?
Yeah, no, my boy Gerard has said the same thing, where he likes RPGs but he likes direction. Where it's like, because I remember explaining to him that he was like, oh, what build are you currently playing in Skyrim? And I was like, entirely passive. And he's like, what are you talking about? You're not fighting? I'm like barely going on adventures. Like I'm focusing on like crafting, enchanting, and like building a house. Like I have a wife and kids. Like I'll go on the occasional adventure once in a while, but I want to get well set up as like a founded. And he's like, what's the point of doing that? You're not even the Dragonborn. I'm like, yeah, I know. It's like, I don't know. It's just role playing once in a while. That's games where I play a build like that is like I heavily role play the build. Like, would this person make this type of decision? I'm not doing it for gameplay efficiency. I'm doing it for role play efficiency.
Usually when it comes to game decisions, like I don't usually role play a specific character or build. I'm kind of just playing what I would do or what what I would do in these situations. Like a lot of games where there's like morality, a lot of time, like I'm almost always on the good path, mainly because that's what I would choose to do. Yeah. Like I'll fuck around on the bad paths from now and again, but it's like,
you ever play the Infamous series?
Yeah, I played. Well, not all of them. I played Infamous 1 and I dabbled in Infamous 2, and that's about as far as I got. Yeah, so like I remember like I was doing the good path. Briar was the bad path on Infamous 2, not Infamous 1.
I typically will try to. I don't know. I feel like because like if you just want a general chaos of the game, like I typically will try to play an evil character, depending. Like in Infamous Second Son, which they do in every Infamous game. Like you can only unlock certain abilities by maxing out either good or bad.
Yeah, and
one of the things that
I want more games to offer like a neutral setting. Give me my gray Jedi path.
I would say if you could increase the abilities, but the abilities are influenced by the karma. So like you can have, a lightning ability where you're just holding out like just a beam of lightning, but maybe it attacks more damage per second if you're bad, or it might have the chance to heal somebody next to you if you're good.
Yeah, I don't want to be. I personally don't really want to be the villain, but like I don't mind being like, oh, look at him, he's a good guy. He's kind of a dick though.
Yeah. Exerting your will onto people is fun. That's always fun. There's definitely times where I do that, like in games where you're like, oh, okay, this is I mean, even in subtle ways, because it's like, even to our Minecraft server that we have now, like you're making a village kind of in the proper way. I'm enslaving NPCs to my will to be my blood cattle.
Well, I'm just
I have them in a box.
What I did was I set up. I'm not doing like a proper village. What I was doing last night was I was setting up a villager breeder.
That's kind of I just have they're inside this area with a bunch of sheep. The way I figured out, apparently, if you make a Fletcher villager, you can trade them sticks for emeralds.
Yeah. So what I'm doing is I'm setting up a villager breeder so that I can, once the villager's grown, I'll put him in like a little pen and then like swap whatever profession he is and then see what his trades are at and then just try to like basically get a bunch of villagers set up that all have decent trades.
I have one now that has a mending enchantment book. So that was my number one thing that I was looking for. I was like, I just want to be able to trade him a bunch of emeralds, which I can do now with sticks to get mending, which is that's pretty cool.
I don't know if it's because Minecraft is harder now than it used to be, but I personally like having a bow and arrow more than a sword nowadays.
Yeah, the range helps because there's a lot of shit. Well, because they added that mechanic that the longer you stay in one area, the harder it gets. The more mobs spawn, the more times that they can see you from super far away.
Yeah. I'm just like, that's part of the reason why I wanted to get chickens. Like, I need feathers so that I can have a steady supply of arrows.
If you come to my Fletcher, if you trade him a bunch of sticks and get emeralds, for one emerald, you get 16 arrows.
All right.
So if I'll chop down, especially because one of the best things of just tree feller mod because it makes sense.
Yeah.
Look, if I chop down a tree from its root, there shouldn't be a floating piece of wood in the middle of the sky. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, the mod's not like
it's not game breaking.
No, I was gonna say it's not foolproof because like if two trees are close enough that their leaves are connected, like the top of that tree will still stay standing up because they're like it's technically rooted to the ground.
So and especially where my girlfriend's making her base, which is in a jungle. So it's like I have to be very careful because she's making jungle villages. And I don't want to like fuck her shit up by like...
bring down a villager's whole home.
And then she's just like, what the fuck? No, it's just so...
I actually need to go to a jungle to get jungle wood because I have cocoa pods and I need to get jungle wood to grow them on it. Actually, does it have to be jungle tree?
Yes.
Okay, so I gotta go get jungle wood.
So basically, I'll just deforest an area, turn it all into sticks, get like a stack of emeralds, and then you can just trade that over for basically infinite arrows.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Any closing notes, I guess?
Not really. I'm thinking about starting up a solo channel, whether that be maybe like a Twitch for live streaming. Like I know you can live stream on YouTube as well, but I feel like getting people to see you on Twitch is easier because like I don't like YouTube on my homepage like I don't see like who's live streaming right now, so I don't know what the fuck.
So I'll say because this is what we learned from doing the other podcast I'm a part of is we were streaming on Twitch forever because that was the number one place to go.
Mm-hmm.
But even the biggest streamers now are going to YouTube, not only because YouTube pays better and they don't take as much percentage, but because YouTube now is they're very smart. What they're doing is they're trying to essentially be the one hub.
Yeah.
So like you can pay for a channel membership, which is essentially YouTube's Patreon.
Yep.
You have a community tab that lets you interact. You have your shorts, your videos, and there's a podcast section and a live section now. So I exclusively do everything on YouTube now. I would say feel free to do Twitch. I just feel like for me, it's a lot easier to only use YouTube.
Mm-hmm. There's I considered TikTok, but I don't like. See, the thing is, I don't know what I want to really make my content about yet. Like,
just figure that out first. Just do what you like.
The thing with YouTube and TikTok that I don't like is YouTube and TikTok very much are formulaic in the fact that your channel is about one thing, and I don't like the fact that I have to be locked down to one thing.
Yeah, in a way. Like, I mean, I feel like that's why I have, I have a personal that's like just videos of me and Jasmine and shit, random shit that I want to do, and then one specifically for gaming. But they're under the same email, so I like that you can still access multiple channels.
Like, I thought about labeling my channel as like a fantasy channel, like about like fantasy related content, because personally, like, fantasy is my favorite thing. Fantasy shows, books, anything like that I'm really into.
I would say that's one of the things like when we first met that we talked about a lot was this high fantasy shit.
Yeah,
and like that's one of my favorite things.
High fantasy, urban fantasy. I'll read any kind of fantasy, really.
Yeah.
I'll read sci-fi, but sci-fi doesn't do it as much as fantasy does. What was the name of
the series? You had told me a book. I think it's about a guy who like discovers that there's zombies or something. There was a guy named Bubba who was like training him.
I have the book upstairs actually. I have the whole series. It's the Chronicles of Nick.
That's what it is.
It's a kid. His name is Nicholas Gaucher, and he's a kid who discovers that he is one of like the strongest demonic entities to exist, because his father was it's a demon called the Malachi. His father was the Malachi before him, and it's part of the reason why his dad abandoned him. Actually, the more time he spends around his dad, the more time he drains his dad's powers. So by being away longer, his dad could ensure that his powers didn't wane and that he wouldn't grow as weak. And so he finds out that he's the Malachi, and like all of these other magical beings are after him. And he's finding out there's magical shit going on in his city. Like he works for a dude named Kyrian, who it turns out is a vampire, an immortal vampire who works for Artemis. Because there's an organization called the Dark Hunters, which are all beings that have sworn themselves to the goddess Artemis, who hunt the dark creatures that are causing problems.
Is this still the same like Greek Artemis? Like that's who that is? Okay.
Yep.
Or Roman, whatever she is.
Yeah, no, you had it right, Greek. And then Kyrian has a friend named Ash, or his name is like Acheron, or it's Acheron. I always call him like Acheron or Acheron because for his nickname is Ash. They call him Ash for short.
Yeah, I would say Acheron,
he's a god from, I think I want to say Atlantean or something like that. I don't know if he's a real god, but he's a god that I don't know what he's supposed to be god of, but the way they describe him in the book, they describe him like a chick's wet dream. Like Acheron is supposed to be like stunningly like beautiful. Like he has like that kind of like that look that like just attracts people to him. Like he's
23rd century pheromones.
Yeah, basically. And like I remember one of the first times like Ash and Nick's in Acheron's car and he's giving him a ride, and like Ash uses like magic to boost his car, and they're driving like at like speed 6. I was gonna say some stupid shit, and Nick's like and then they just come to a stop, and then Nick's like I don't even know. But that whole book is about Nick coming to learning his parentage and what's going on around him, and it takes place in New Orleans, so there's a lot of that southern drawl and stuff like that. Like one of his best friends is a redneck called Bubba who runs, I think it was an electronics store, and his friend Mark, and they like hunt zombies and shit in their free time, and it's a good book. It's very reminiscent of like Spider-Man stuff. Like since it takes place in like a more modern day, like there's like pop culture references, there's a lot of people talking smack and talking shit, and but there's a lot of like deep lore in there too. Like there's a lot of interconnectivity because what it is the author that writes it, Cheryl Kenyon, she has Chronicles of Nick is her teen intro series into Nick and his life, which then leads into her more, I don't know if it's adult or if it's still considered young adult, but her Dark Hunter series, like it is a whole expansive universe of books. Like I've read 6 books and I still feel like I haven't read anything. Like I'm still very yeah, because like you find out in the book Nick has siblings. Like one of his brothers is born of a god, and he's like a dream guardian who's in charge of like watching monitoring like the dreamscape, and Um, there's all kinds of shit. Like you find out this old lady that was watching him, that like she used to babysit him. Like it turns out she's actually like what I think it's like the Egyptian god. I want to say Set or something like that. Like there's just magic shit going on all
Egyptian
around.
god Set.
I think it's Set, but she's definitely an Egyptian god. I don't know if it's Set or not though. There's just so much shit going on around him. There's so much interconnected lore. There's like this like the book combines religions and mythologies that already exist with its own mythologies and intertwines them. It's a fun read. It was originally supposed to be adapted into a movie, but I think from what I read on the author's page, due to a business clash with her now ex-husband, he kind of screwed her over and kind of tanked the project. So I don't think it's gonna happen now. But yeah, I'd recommend it for anyone who's watching it. If you want to ever read it or check it out, you can borrow the books.
Definitely, yeah. I've been getting into as a closing note, I've been trying to get more into reading because I'm someone who like vehemently hates books. But I realize that that's because in school we always got forced to read about the American Revolution and fucking Huckleberry. I don't care about these types of things. So now that I'm finding books that I like this, I read the Mortal Instrument series, City of Bones, City of Glass, City of Ashes. My favorite books of all time. I really love them. So yeah, all right. The Chronicles of Nick. Read it. Read the Chronicles of Nick. Wash your dick. We'll see you next time.